excited to be sharing some of the stuff that I've been learning so far. Just a quick intro about the PowerEdX community. I mean, this is a meetup that runs the first Tuesday of every month. And recently we've been on like a global tour because earlier it used to be just within the US and Canada and Europe friendly time zones. So we've been on a global tour to make sure that we can cover every parts of the world and we get to meet more of our PowerEdX around the world. And so the way we do it is we usually have guests joining us who share anything under the Power Platform ecosystem, and they have these fun demos and showcases, and it's a fun way to network with your peer Power Addicts and also to learn more about the toolset. So our next one is coming up on the October 13th, which is next Tuesday, and it's from 5 to 6 p.m. Central Time. So if you are able to join us, please do. This next one is going to be Japan focused. So we have two guests from Japan joining us, and we've picked a time zone that will kind of fit in with most of the other time zones as well. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about Project Oakdale. And just a little bit of myself, I am based out of Dallas, Texas, and I am a collaboration and custom adaptive consultant with Artis Consulting. I am a Power Addict and passionate about all things Office 365 and the Azure Stack. I'm also the co-founder of the Dallas Port with Power Apps and Power Automate UG. The business applications MVP. It's just been a year, and I frequently share my experiences and learnings from using all the toolsets under the Power Platform ecosystem. So feel free to follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or even my blog posts where you can. I try to keep myself up to date as well on emerging patterns and trends. So this is our quick agenda here. We'll have a quick overview of what Project Oakdale is, and then we'll run through a demo by creating a simple app. We'll review the prerequisites that are required for you to have in place for you to get started with Oakdale, and then also we'll take a look at how the environments and capacities are impacted as well when you use Oakdale for creating your apps within Teams. And then finally, we'll look at some of the most frequently asked questions and how you can, handle some of the common scenarios that you would be facing when using Project Oakdale. Okay, get started. So we all know Project Oakdale has been the buzzword since it was last released in public preview. It was originally called DataFlex, but what it really is a lighter version of CDS, and it is in public preview as of today, and as of today it's still called Project Oakdale, and it enables Power Apps developers, and also citizen makers to design and build and manage their apps and bots directly within Teams, and you can use an embedded Power Apps Studio experience without additional licensing costs. And those apps that you build within Teams are also responsive on the form factor, and there's also an option where you can go choose to build a phone layout apps as well. And any of your Teams processes, those can be automated as well using Power Automate, and it can work with the Project Oakdale data as long as it's within the context of Teams, and you wouldn't need an additional licensing. There are certain plans that are excluded from Project Oakdale, like the US government and EDU, but majority of your M365 and Teams licenses should cover your access and your capacity to work with Project Oakdale. And what it really is a built-in flexible database, and it gives you a relational data storage, file storage, and it also allows you to have a one-click style of deployment for your apps. And the way it works is each Project Oakdale environment is kind of uniquely mapped in a one-to-one style to a Teams team. So every team that you create, and when a user goes in and creates an app, it generates an environment that is associated to that specific team, and each team gets about 2 GB of storage, which is about a million rows. So that's a lot of data that you can actually store within the specific team. And the limitation on the number of teams that you can have at a tenant level is 500. So that's what we have in preview right now. And so what that really means is that you can have about 500 environments within your tenant. And each environment you get about 2 GB of storage. So you kind of have about at least 1 terabyte of storage that you get. And the way security works is it kind of aligns with how security roles are defined within your teams. So it goes with the acronym OMG. So the owners, members, and guests defined in your teams are the ones that really have access to use your apps. So off to our quick demo. So just wanted to kind of walk you through building a simple app, and then we'll look at some of the things that you need to know and how to navigate within Power Apps that's embedded within Teams and also the studio that we have there. So here I do have a channel, a Teams already created. I call it the Power Apps team, and there's a general channel. Now, if you're new, you would go to the ellipsis here and look for Power Apps. Or you can also go to apps and look for Power Apps. But another thing to note is in case you don't find Power Apps, or if you see one and you click and you see an error, it could be that you have been blocked from embedding apps within Teams. So you might want to just reach out to your Power Platform admin and make sure that they can unblock you to create apps. And then once you do that, now I already have that added. So that's why you see the tab over here, the little pin over here that says Power Apps. Another good way is also to go ahead and pin it, so that way it's easier for you to get to it, whenever you need to visit the Power Apps portal for within Teams. So let's click on that. So we'll just wait for it to load, and we should be able to take a look at how the portal works. So it's a little slow today, but bear with me. So what we have here is the home screen for the Power Apps, and you want to make sure that this shows a preview, because that is the right app that you should be adding. And you'll notice that you have a button to create an app, and it really does enable you to create an app just within 5 minutes, and we'll see how intuitive it is to actually build an app that quick. I have an app already created, and so you can see that, but otherwise this would be blank. But you also have a bunch of template apps that you can create, and these apps will generate, once you create a template app, or if you create a new one, what that'll do is it will generate the environment that's associated to your teams, and it'll install all the artifacts that are required going forward. And then it usually takes a little longer if this is the first time you're creating an app within the Teams, but after that it should be pretty quick. And then you also have a couple of tutorials out there that you can use to get started. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and create an app. So let's wait for the little dialog to open. And when you create an app, you have to specify which team that you want to create the app for. So in this case, I already have the Poweradics team, so I'm going to go ahead and create an app for that. And when I do that, it knows to associate this app to the Project Oakdale environment that's associated to the Poweradics team. So let's give it a minute. It's trying to load the designer. So we have an embedded designer view within Teams itself, and that designer is a little bit different from your regular Power Apps that you would use. You'll notice that some of the controls have additional properties, and then you also notice that some of the menu items have been moved around, and you'll notice that you have a capability to create tables, or where you want to store your data, right in line within Power Apps. So when you get here, you'll notice that the file menu that you're usually used to seeing, where you can go save as, look at settings and all of that, that's not there anymore. But you have these options where you can add a data source, you can create a new screen, and the app checker is moved from the right to the left, and then here's your settings. And then you'll notice on the top right corner, you have the ability to save, you can preview, and then now this one's renamed to publishing to teams, because that's what this does. Any app that you build within the context of Teams is going to be published to a specific team that you pick. And then here is our canvas here, and you can see that it already generated a sample template with a gallery and then a form to view data that's associated to the item that you pick in the gallery. And it also enables, for you to create a new record or delete or even edit them. But right now we don't have any data. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and create a new table. So let's say I want to build a Paradix events app. So I'm going to go ahead and create an events app, and I will say create, and that will what it's doing is it's generating a table behind the scenes within my environment. And it drops in, gives me this inline editor grid style UI that I can use to start adding new columns and rows right there. So what I'm going to do is leave that. I'll call that. I can rename this to say this will be our event name. We'll save that, and then I'll go ahead and add another column. I will call that the event date. So I'm going to pick event date. And if you notice, you'll see that there are several data types that you can pick from. Now, these are not the only data types. For example, you don't see file and images here, but I'll show you where you can go generate the other complex richer data types as well. So you also have the opportunity to create lookups to generate relationships between your tables. So we'll take a look at an example for that as well. So for now, I'm going to just have two columns, an event name and a date. So that's what I need for my events. And then you can notice that as you are editing and adding data, it actually automatically starts saving. So I'm going to say, let's call this the October 2020 Hangout. And then I'm going to add another row. Let me see if I can create another one. Let's say we'll call it the next one would be our November 2020 Hangout. Okay, so now let's say this is going to be the October 13th, and this is going to be November 10th. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I thought I added it. Now let me go ahead and choose it again. Okay, let's leave it at this for now. Let's see if it picks it up. So it says it's saved. I don't know why the dates are not showing up. But remember, this is in preview, so we should expect to see some discrepancies here and there. But I'm sure it's evolving, and you'll see a lot more changes by the time it's in GA. So now you can see what it did. It actually provisioned that table in a common data service environment. And it also created a view, which is it dropped the data, it pulled the data within the gallery, and now I have the ability to look at like a parent-child view within the app. And so it's pretty intuitive, and how quick was that, right? You could actually build an app just within 5 minutes. So let me do this. I will go ahead and preview this, and I'll show you that when I click on that, I can see that it has the event date, it has my event name, and then here's the next one, and that it actually did save the date. It just didn't show it on the UI, but it dropped in the fields that you already added as part of the data table, and then I can choose to edit it. I mean, it already provided all my CRUD operations, automatically, so I didn't have to do anything. So I can, make a change, or I can even cancel out of it, or I can choose to create a new event as well. So now let's go back to the designer here. So I want to show you a couple of things here that's a little different. So let's go to the tree view here, I mean, you do have the ability to add components, but component libraries are not enabled, at least in preview, but you can have components that are native to the specific app that you're building. And then you can see that they have these panes, which are slightly different from what we see in the regular Power Apps Studio. And so now I'm going to go ahead and drop a button just to show you how we have a few different properties. So let's go move that over here. You can see that there is a new property called a button type. So you can create a primary type button or a standard type button, and you'll notice that when I picked primary, it kind of created a button that goes along with the theme of teams. So, and I'm sure there might be more, we don't know yet, but for now we do have these two styles of buttons that you can create, and then you also have a bunch of other properties that you can set just like you would in regular Power Apps. So what I'm going to do next is also show you another really cool thing. So let's do this. I'm going to add a label. Let's go back to my label right here, and I'm going to drag it up to the top. And you'll notice that there are some newer properties as well for each of these controls. But what I wanted to show you is that since the apps are embedded within Teams, you do have the ability to determine the context. So it gives you a Teams record that you can use to determine the context of your channel or the teams that you're in. So when I go here and let's say, you can see that it's got a couple of properties here. I can, let's say I choose this channel. It moved away, so let's go back here, and you can see this is a record, and these are the columns that I can actually choose to use, and it's pretty helpful because if you have several similar apps being used in multiple teams, then you can get context of which team you can actually use, or which team you're with, or within which team is your app being used. Sorry. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and add the display name over here. Now, right now we're not seeing anything yet because I haven't published my app. So let's do that. So let's go ahead and publish this. So it's saving it. It actually published. Let me go ahead and do next. And now it has a published version. And now what this is doing is going to prompt me to pick which channel that I want to embed this app in. So let's give it a minute. It will it shows me the channels. Right now I only have one, so I can choose to add it to this channel. And so I have that added. And now if you notice, the name of the app is app. So I'll show you where that can be changed. That's one thing that's really not, it's not that obvious. You wouldn't know where to go change it if you're playing around with it for the first time. But let me go ahead and save that, and let's give it a minute. So what that will do is it will automatically add a tab in that channel, and it'll drop that app in there. So if you need to rename your app, what you'll have to do is go ahead and click on the app name over there, and I'm going to call this my let's say my events. We can save it. So now what I'll do is go ahead and publish it because it knows I've made a change. Another thing I also want to show you is that it doesn't give you a warning or anything if you navigate away from the studio. So if you were to navigate away and you're working on something, you want to make sure that you incrementally save your updates, because right now, at least in preview, it doesn't tell you that, hey, do you want to save your updates? Do you want to discard your changes? So that's something that I learned along the way while playing around with this tool. So what I'm going to do is go ahead to my teams, and then so you notice that it actually added it I already have another app called My Tasks, but the app that we created at the time, the first time I published it, it was called App, and so that's why it's still called App. Now, because we renamed it within the app, doesn't really rename the tab here, so you would have to come in here and make sure that you rename it. So let's say we add that as events. So let's save that, and you'll notice that it actually starts opening it up. Let's give it a few minutes right there. So yep, so there we have. So we have our app here, and you'll notice that I had the contextual information about my team's channel. So it displays the channel, so I know which channel this app is being used within. So now let's go back to my app here, and I want to show you how the save works. Just a quick demo of that. So now when I go here, I have my app right here. So let's go open that up, and we'll change a little, maybe a color for one of the icons, and then we'll navigate away, and then you'll notice that it doesn't really prompt you for, so you want to be careful when you're making changes, just incrementally start saving for each of those updates. So we'll just wait for that. So while we're waiting for that, I'm just looking at the question. Hey, Ruhi, I see your question there. So you're asking if you get an error, doesn't allow you to create an environment in Teams, make sure to enable it. Can you please let me know where the setting can be found? I have my own environment. I'm a global, but it gives me this error and I haven't been able to start. Oh, so the one that I was talking about is a DLP policy or anything that blocks you from creating apps within Teams. So maybe you have a policy that's blocking that. You could check that. That's the one I was talking about because lately with how Project Oakdale has been released, you can larger organizations have people go in and creating apps, and that generates several environments. If you look at each person in a team, an owner creating apps, that ends up creating several environments. And so for that reason, and then it gets hard to govern and manage because those apps are just test apps and you're not really creating it. So you admins can actually set up a policy to block them from creating apps within the tenant. One other thing is that if you exceed capacity, that's another reason that you could not be able to create apps as well within your environment.
Thank you. I will try that out. I don't think I ever had any DLP policies like trial training environment. I don't think I ever did anything, but I'll just give that a check once again.
Yeah, sure. Or you can also try it another. Do you have like you might want to try it on another tenant as well. If you have like a developer license or something, Office 365 developer tenant, you could try it on that as well and see if you're seeing the same behavior.
Sure. And just wanted to make sure it's available in all regions, right? Because my environment is
It is
pretty
available in all regions, but I have seen, I mean, I've been asked, I've seen a couple of people ask me as well that they don't see it, and I'm guessing because it's in preview and they're just rolling it out, and it's just been recently announced. I mean, it should be available in all regions. That's what, but nowhere in the documentation I've been able to exactly find which regions are not allowed. It's only certain plans that don't allow it, like the EDU plan or the government plans in the US cloud. But yes, yeah, it should be available. But if it's not, I would think maybe they're still rolling things out, and it just depends on the region your tenant is actually located in the cloud.
okay. Thank you. I'll give it a try.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so we were able to create that. So let's go ahead and I wanted to show you where you can go and make a change. So here's what I'll do. I'll just go ahead and change the color a little bit here. And so now I've changed the color, and if I navigate away, it doesn't prompt me. So if I come back to my app, it doesn't really save the change. So that's something that you would want to keep in mind when you're making changes. So now that we've created an app, let's take a look at where you can go look at the configuration and artifacts that come with the environment. So you would go back to the Power Apps pinned icon, and then on the home screen, it should show you the recent apps. So we'll go ahead and click on See More. And then now this shows me everything that's been built by the team and anything that's been installed within this team. And here you can see that it shows me my apps, the flows that I've created, what environments I'm using, and then it also shows me the tables. So let's go and create a See All, and that gives me like a high level overview of what's available. So if you notice on the left, I can see my apps, I can see any bots I've built, any flows, and also tables. If you want to create a flow, you would just click on flows and create an instant or scheduled or automated flow, just like how you would in a regular flow maker portal. And then now here you notice that this shows me just a similar view that we've looked at. If I click on tables, this shows me all the tables that I've built. So so here are all the tables that I've built. So now if I click on events, now this gives you the native, the common data service look and feel, right? It has all these system generated columns. It gives you a more familiar UI that you're used to if you're using CDS. Now, if you don't want to see any of these additional columns and you're only wanting to see just the ones that you've been using, then you can go choose custom, and that will show you just the ones that you generated as part of your data table grid interface. So now, and then you also have the ability to look at any connection references you have and also generate environment variables. Now you can choose to edit your data from here, right here. So for example, let's say I want to add a lookup column. I can go ahead. I'm just going to show an example. I'll just say this is a test column, and I can go choose lookup. And when I can pick from the list of tables that I have that have been provisioned in this environment specifically to the Teams channel. So for example, let's say I want to assign it to a department, then I can go ahead and create a lookup, and that would let me pick values from the primary column in that lookup, and it'll tie that row to that value. So for example, I have, so it shows me some departments that these are assigned to. Okay, so now we've looked at how you can use this view to do things. So now let's go to apps. Now, we all want to know how we can go restore apps and look at versions. So when you go to the apps section here, you will see a similar interface where you can click on details, and that gives you the versions, and you can restore and look at what versions you've been working with. And you can also look at connectors and flows. So that was a very quick overview of how you can create an app just within 5 minutes. And you can, and how intuitive the interface is for users to just start building tables right within the context of the studio, and then you have your data right there, and you can start building your apps. Now, I also wanted to quickly cover some of the commonly asked questions. I know we're running out of time, so I will keep this quick. So these are some of the most commonly asked questions that I've seen in the community, and also, that I've had as well when Project Oakdale first came out. So the first question there is, can you use Project Oakdale outside of Teams? For now, at least in preview, the answer is no. The recommendation is that you promote to CDS. Because Project Oakdale is currently designed to just work within Teams, and if you want to use it, you do have to, upgrade to the full version of CDS. Now, can you use custom connectors in Project Oakdale? Custom connectors are not supported. It only works with standard connectors that you have access to within the context of Teams. But there was an announcement about support for Azure API management. So that might be a way for you to access custom connectors and work with those kind of data. But it should, I know documentation says that it should be available in Project Oakdale sometime soon. So what happens when an environment or tenant capacity service limits are reached? We talked about like how each environment gets 2 GB of storage capacity, and then at a tenant level, you have like 500 environments you can create. So when you exceed your environment capacity, you cannot create new apps or flows or chatbots. It won't let you do that. It will throw you an error or show you a message that you've exceeded capacity. And then if you exceed the tenant capacity, then you can't create new environments. But documentation states that any existing solutions within the environment will continue to work. But there might be some options within your apps or Power Automate or your bots that might be hidden or grayed out. So that's something to watch out for. So our next question is, so if I do exceed, is there a possibility to get additional capacity? Not at this time. It's currently only supports 1 million rows per team. But if you need to get more capacity, then you would want to start building your new apps in the regular CDS environment, or you would have to promote your existing Project Oakdale environment to CDS. And the capability to promote them to CDS is not available today, or at least in public preview, but it will be in GA. And that should be available via your Power Platform admin centers. Your admins should be able to do that. And just to give a note, like other reasons that you would want to look at upgrading to CDS is if you want like enterprise level ALM, you want more complex data types that you would want to use, or richer governance and security, then those are other reasons that you would look at where you want to upgrade to CDS. The last question there is, what happens if your environment if your Teams is deleted? So at that point, your Project Oakdale environment is deleted as well. So any team that gets deleted, the environment that's associated to the teams get deleted. So that's something you want to keep in mind. So those were our top 5 frequently asked questions. And here are a bunch of resources that I listed out from the Microsoft Docs. And then we have April, Daniel Christian, Daniel Laskowitz, Sheen, and Reza. They all have really detailed videos on Project Oakdale and the templates and how you can create flows and bots. So be sure to check out their YouTube channels and their posts if you want to dig deeper and you want to get a better understanding of how to use it while you're playing around with Project Oakdale. So I see here's a little survey here. So if you can help out the BizApps UG by filling that out, that would be great. And that was my quick overview of Intro to Project Oakdale, and I hope you find it helpful in your journey with Project Oakdale.